Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Manga Men. Today we're reading volumes 1 and 2 of Tower Dungeon. Enjoy. Welcome, Jones.
Hello. It's good to be back. It's good to be back. I'm glad. It's been a while since we've recorded, just like the last episode, quite a while. But, hey, we record this on when we can get it. But another Tsutomu Nihai manga that I convinced you to read. Um,
Indeed.
and we read Aposms. If you guys are unfamiliar with Tower Dungeon or Tsutomu Nihai in general, he's the man behind Blame, behind Knights of Sidonia, and then behind Aposms, which we read earlier, to a relatively lackluster response from our side,
Yeah.
which I think it was a bit of a confusing one. Although I think I would read it on my own just to see where it goes, but I wasn't super turned on by it. However, Tower Dungeon is a much different approach, especially from this man. He's very involved in the science fiction world of anime and manga. Um, and he kind of takes a turn here and puts out a fantasy title, Tower Dungeon. Um, so, what did you think, King? Initial thoughts, just getting into it, because I know they're going to be wrong.
Okay. I think it was good. I think there was definitely things that I don't want to compare it too much to Opossums.
It's
There's
very different from Aposms. It really is.
a little bit.
Okay. Okay. The
I
face you
think
just made just says it
I
all.
think the person that wrote this has great visions. And I think this is definitely his strongest work that I've read. I thought characters, all that stuff was really good. I think world building was pretty cool. I liked it. I think it was definitely a better experience, and I felt myself going through the pages pretty quick and staying like whenever I was reading, I was locked in. And that's usually a good sign for me. But I definitely do think there was parts of it that I just didn't enjoy, and parts of it that had myself comparing it to other works in a way that I was like, oh, this did it this better, and this was the same as this. And it kind of, I don't want to say soiled the experience, but there was a lot that I wanted from it that it didn't quite hit.
I can understand that. I can understand that, but you do have to take the story at face value. You can't compare it, until you've gotten through it. But that being said, I'm actually on a pretty not I wouldn't say opposite end of the spectrum here, but I finished volume 2 and I was extremely upset when I finished it because I didn't have volume 3.
Mm.
This was
I
one
felt the same way.
This was something where I was very much like, I want more, and there isn't more unless I go and, like, hunt down each chapter as it's released, and, just kind of, like, become, like, one of those, like, I read manga chapter by chapter each week type people, which I was for a while for certain titles. But the art was great, which, I mean, if Aposms is anything to go off of, Aposms' art was gorgeous. I liked the characters, I liked the setting, I liked the story, although, we'll talk a bit more about the story here in a second. I thought it was kind of basic, but I still really liked it. It had a lot that kept me engaged and wanting more. So I'm kind
Mhm.
of not on the opposite side of the spectrum, but definitely on a different side. And I'm
I
very
I'm
upset
I'm pretty
that
I'm pretty in the middle with
you
it.
used some obscene language, which I'm not going to say because we're a family friendly podcast, but you used some obscene language earlier to describe this manga. And Tsutomu Nihai would be
He would
very
be he would
upset.
be rolling in his office chair right now.
Yeah, not his grave because he's still alive,
He's still
luckily.
alive. It would be an office chair. Um, after he's pencil whipping the news chapter. But I think that I personally do not enjoy his work.
And I think that is a
And
valid point. I
I
do think that there's a fundamental wall that you hit when you're reading some
mm,
of his stuff. And it comes like I think we mentioned earlier, in the last or previous before, maybe even in the Opossums episode, me and you are definitely, and I kind of like that. It gives a good dynamic to, our talks here, but I think we're just on different ends of the manga spectrum here. I think me
mm,
and you, we like different things. And that's kind of, part of why King chooses half of the manga and I choose half of the manga, right? Because there is a variety here, and I think that he 100% this was my choice, and he's definitely my variety and not yours. So
yeah.
I can see that because I would
See
still say, sorry for cutting you off. I'll let
oh,
you
no, you're good.
speak, but I think even if you don't like his work, you can't say he's necessarily a bad author. Maybe
Oh,
if
no.
Opossums was the only thing this guy put to paper, maybe I could see that. But
Mhm.
I think overall, you can't, you know, dog too much on him. But anyway, as you were saying, sorry for cutting you off.
So I think no, you're good. I think there's a lot of this manga that I really enjoyed, and I think that I'm excited to see where it goes, but it doesn't mean that I fully liked the directions that he took. And
Yes,
I there was like Opossums, there's a lot more that I wanted from it. Um, I liked the world building that he's done, but there's definitely huge caveats to that where I think there's a lot that he could have done better on.
fair point.
Because for one, I am really confused once again, kind of like Opossums, at I wouldn't say the end goal, but the tower itself makes no sense to me.
So, um, I want us to
I
start
guess
talking
I
about
guess
the plot here in a second
let's
because I have my notes all here with my. I've been drawing a character map each time, and this one is a
yeah.
lot better and easier to follow than the Opossums character.
Oh, absolutely.
I can tell you that I actually compared it to my Opossums
And
character map, and you guys can't see
I
this, but King will get a chuckle out of this when I show it. That
oh yeah, no, it was pretty rough. It was pretty rough.
Opossums is rough, but this one, its characters are much more straightforward. But without further ado, King, I'll let you kick us off with the plot a little bit, so that we can kind of get
So
some substance here.
the whole premise of this is that there is a man named Yuva who is tasked with pretty much climbing this giant tower to save a princess from a necromancer. That's pretty much the whole plot, what it boils down to. Okay.
The
Um,
very well explained in simple terms. Yes.
in simple terms, yes. And in my opinion, I think just that statement of being able to have it in simple terms is already a million times better than Opossums.
Yeah.
Because if
Yeah.
you asked me to explain Opossums right now in a sentence, I couldn't even tell you what it was about.
It would take me a few sentences to tell you what Opossums is about.
Eh, exactly. This, I think, is the strong suit of it. Of hey, we are giving you this boy named Yuva. He is a kind of like country bumpkin. Feed his chickens, hanging with his sister, and we're going to throw this man into a quest to climb this giant tower and save this princess who is being trapped by this necromancer who looks like the king. And it's like I think that's where it's really just like, oh, okay, like we have the plot. It tells you right at the beginning. It really I did like how it introed with the princess having a conversation with the necromancer.
Yeah.
I think it
And
set
then
the tone.
looking back at the first couple panels after kind of like internalizing the plot where
Mhm.
he says, what does he say? He's like, "Oh, ancient tower floating on high, heed my call." And he calls it's like a floating tower and he calls it down from the sky. And you actually see where the main characters are actually launching their quest from. And he enters the tower with the princess. So it does kind of set that through. When you first read it, you don't get it just because you don't have the whole scope yet. But it's a very straightforward. You're going, okay, this necromancer is taking this princess into this tower, boom. And he does kill the king, and it does pretty straightforward mention it because the princess goes to the king, and the king's actually the necromancer in disguise, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really straightforward, really simple, easy to follow. Um, and that's something that I really appreciated.
Um, and so Yuva goes on a whole quest because he kind of volunteers himself to go on it.
He's conscripted, but in a sense volunteers to be conscripted. So, meh, it's kind of like a gray area, but yeah, he pretty much volunteers to go.
And then he goes into the tower and he meets up with a group of, I guess, royal guards in a way.
Yeah, the Royal
Like,
Guard, I think is what they're called.
and he ends up meeting, in my opinion, the best part of the manga, which is the side characters.
The side characters are extremely lively.
And
And
I enjoy that so much.
the side characters in this manga are written very well. They're not overly complex. They all have their own little personalities. And one thing I mentioned here is that when you see them in the tower, they're all wearing armor, but they all have like slightly distinct armor sets. They all look
Mhm.
like the royal guard, but they all have
But
like there's a guy who has
alterations.
glasses and his helmet doesn't have glasses on the helmet, but it has something that implies glasses. So
Mhm.
it's kind of like that where, you know, when you're reading like Opossums, which is the only thing we've covered that Tsutomu Nihai has covered. So we're kind of going to compare a lot to that. I can tell you that
Mhm.
now, but it was very easy to be like, who is this? Who's
Mhm.
that? Huh? What? Whereas in this manga, even though a lot of the royal guards, I forgot them by the second volume, but they were
Yeah,
side characters anyway,
and
so I
that's
don't
kinda
think
what I
you
was gonna
need
say
to
is
remember them too
there
much.
was
They still were distinct. And I
yeah,
knew,
it's
hey, this
it's like
guy,
Attack
he's
on
like,
Titan, you know? Like,
yeah.
y when they introduced Levi's Squad and Attack on Titan, they're all really cool, they're all really distinct, but even if you don't remember their names, you can still be like, even if you remember their name, you can be like, "Oh, that one's my favorite," but they're still a side character, and they're
And
still cool to
honestly,
you, and
I
I
think
liked
some of
that.
these side characters are going to show up later on, and you're going to
Mhm.
remember them, but you're not going to necessarily remember them fully. And it's going to be a reintroduction of something familiar.
Yeah. Like,
And
I liked the captain, Captain, Minsabel? I don't really know how to say their name. I liked the captain, and
yeah,
then their, like,
Minstable,
right-hand man guy, was
Rudeum.
yeah. They were just I don't know, I just feel like these side characters, they just did a really good job of being like, these guys are elite, and because 'cause they're elite, they can look kinda distinct from one another. They don't look like grunts,
Mhm.
but they also look what's the word I'm trying to say? I guess very I yeah, like you said, lively. Like, I don't know. I just feel like they did a
Yeah.
really good job with that.
No, and, kind of expanding on the plot, at least what we get in the beginning, you gave a really good basic rundown, but essentially, before we get too deep into talking about, like, the individual events of the manga, um, the necromancer kills the king, kidnaps the princess, and locks her in this a very large tower. I think they say it's like 18 kilometers tall, which will
Mhm,
lead into one of my initial thoughts of this manga, which is one of the things that I just kind of kept giggling over the whole time. Yuva, he's a farm boy. He gets conscripted. Essentially, like the kingdom seems very weak at this point, so they conscript one man from each village to join the royal guard and to help them with the tower. So he goes. He proves himself to them because he's extremely strong. He just has like abnormal strength. And he goes up into the tower with these guys, helps them out, and then eventually the guard is getting recalled from the tower because Minsabel is actually like a member of the royal family. So they're saying like the royal family is toast. Like they have all just disappeared. So we need you to go back and rule to keep stability. And they want to pull the royal guard, which is really sinister because the guy who they send from the parliament is real sketchy. Um,
yeah.
and then she basically demands that she can select a squad of people to stay behind. and that squad of people includes Yuva. So the first volume is the establishment of that squad, and then the second volume is the first foray of that squad into the
Yeah.
tower. And I mean, really simple mission, really straightforward, really simple plot. So many directions it can go. So many
Uh,
directions it can go.
a part that I would have mentioned that I thought was really funny in volume one is when they're taking Yuva into the tower, they are like walking up these steps, stones, whatever, and then Yuva looks over and there's a whole pile of what looks like zombies. And it's just a positives again. It's literally just the exact same scene from a positives where Yuva's like, what are those? They're not human anymore. Don't attract them. It is the exact same scene. And I'm
Yeah, it
just sitting
is.
there like, so when you recommended this manga, I didn't even look at the author. I didn't even know that this was by the same person. The second that scene happened, I was like, there's no way. He did it to me again. Jones literally trapped me into reading this
No, that was my
manga
goal.
again.
That was my goal. I was hoping that when I said that, "Oh, you might know Sutomu Nihai from Opossums," that in this episode you'd be like, "What? No way!"
No, I knew
And
the second they see the zombie-like creatures in the corner being brain dead, I was just like, oh, it's
it's this
it's
guy.
this again. But it
Oh,
the way they did it, I was actually like, oh, it makes sense because there's a necromancer.
yeah.
Oh, it actually works in the world. And they're just they don't need to fully explain it, but it makes sense. Possums, you're like, why? And then it just doesn't say why.
It just doesn't explain it. It's just like, "Well,
Um,
sorry, man, they're there. Just
and then it
accept it."
leads to my first big complaint. Does Yuva have like what's it called? What's the enchant for boots on Minecraft where you don't take fall damage?
Feather falling.
Does Yuva have feather falling like 5? Because the amount of times this man falls off the tower and is completely uninjured is astronomical by the
No, but he
second
has
volume.
superhuman strength. He has
Oh,
knockback. He has knockback 5, yeah.
fall 10 stories and be complete and then just get up and do his thing. But the second they show a bad guy being thrown off the bridge, he dies.
Yeah, that's how it
Ah, that
works.
okay, I see. Yeah, no, that's my
Uh,
biggest complaint because I had to read that page like 3, 4 times because
he's fallen off, like, 3 times, I think.
he
Like,
falls and then
not
he's
off
in
the tower, but
water.
at great distances.
Yeah, he falls and then he's like in the water and they're like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then he just gets back up and it happened. Like it was just such an unneeded like I guess it shows that the barrels that Yuva's carrying are salt, and that's a pretty, I guess, important plot point that we didn't mention is that Yuva's
Yeah.
this salt carrier.
Yeah, he gets
So,
thrusted into it. He sees some guys struggling with some salt, and he's like, "Hey, do y'all need help?" And then they're like, yeah, because they don't wanna go into the tower," which, like, fair point. And they're just like, "Alright, go into the tower, like, you'll do fine. Good luck." And then he just, like, since he has super strength, he just, like, carries him into the tower, and the squad is like, "Well, one guy carrying all the salt is better than,
and
like, multiple."
this leads into my second point. So, the armor in this manga is awesome.
It is.
I made
It's very realistic, but at the same time, very fantastical.
it's very Elden Ring, Dark Souls coded.
Yes.
Which
They
I made a reference in Opossums that I felt like that game would have been a good Souls-like game. And now that I'm reading this whole thing, there's so many times where I'm like, you was just a Dark Souls protagonist.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
actually.
he's literally just a Dark Souls build going through this big dungeon. And I'm gonna be honest, I genuinely think that the creator of these mangas is just a Dark Souls fan. Like there's no way he's not. Like
Yeah, I can see that.
like it's very like especially the Parliament armor is
Yeah.
very Dark Soulsy.
Well, so kind of to not fast forward, but kind of fast forward, I guess, through the plot. So they go up with this salt, and the reason why they need it is on level 50 of the tower. There's a slime, and they need to pour salt onto the slime, like snail style, to weaken it. So he carries this salt up to the tower. They get into a pretty cool little battle with like some like gate guards in the tower and all this stuff. They, through a cunning ploy, they are able to pour salt onto the slime, and Yuva ends up killing the slime. The necromancer manifests and tries to turn him to the dark side, Palpatine style.
Mhm.
And Yuva doesn't give in. He's a very stalwart, stubborn character, you know. Kills the slime. The slime disintegrates into a gemstone that the necromancer says, if you can take this to level 100, I'll give you the princess back. And then they rescue Lillison, who is a fire mage, and they bring her back to the camp. And this is the first foray into the tower that we see. And the tower, like I said, is 18 kilometers long. And I want to ask you, King, why does this guy have like a fetish with just like really big structures?
I don't know, and I
So
think
you have
that's
Opossums, which is an artificial planet that's like the size of Jupiter or something like that,
yeah,
right? And then you have Blame, which we haven't read, but Blame is on a space station that is like immensely
the
large.
same
And then
thing.
now we have a tower dungeon that has a 18-kilometer tall tower.
Yeah.
And I'm not dissing it. I mean, I kind of like the like big structure. It's this world that like, you can really like make a good
He
story being captured
he
into this like artificial world. But why?
he
Why is he doing
encompasses a
this?
plot into one, I guess, kind of like building,
Hmm.
and it lets him, I guess, contain it, which in my opinion is his weakest suit. Because I think that the only like big issues I had from this were how does the tower work? Because once the characters get to a high enough level, there's like a normal human civilization and boats can pull up.
No.
They go all the way back down.
So you're mixing up so their base of operations basically is there's a little fort right next to where the tower descends, and there's a bridge from that little fort into the tower. And there's a river that runs by that fort. So that's how the boats are getting there. Is they're not going into the tower, they're just going up to this little fort that's next to the tower.
But my thing is they climb up the tower and then they arrive at like a safe haven area where Yuva's sister is.
No, that's the fort.
So the fort's at the base of the tower, right?
Yes.
So they
Yes.
go up, then they go back down.
Yes.
I
Because they haven't gone super far up the tower yet. They haven't. So level 50 is only half a kilometer up,
yeah.
right? Because each level is 10 meters. So 500 meters, 50 times 10, right? So they've only gone half a kilometer up. So they return to the fort. And they are basically tasked by Minsabel to save the princess. And the three of them go back into the tower, and they have a adventure in it where they run into these weird primeval people who are stuck in it, which I thought was kind of cool. I thought the little Smeagol people was a neat little touch, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
showing that like there are people who get stuck in the tower, or there are creatures in the tower that do develop their own little societies and things. And when they come down, um, essentially, now that the royal guard has exited, there are all these guilds and corporations that have um, e- essentially turned the fort into a hotel, and they are all they're under a quest for riches, and there's also this decree that whoever rescues the princess gets to marry her, and all these things. So you see all these different guilds show up, including what's her name, Funapa, um, Yuva's sister, gets work there as being like a tavern aide, where she's just doing busy work around the tower. So
Mm.
they are going back down to this fort. They aren't just staying in the tower.
Yeah. So
So
I guess
that's
that kind of clarifies. I think I was just kind of confused because it kind of skips. It doesn't really explain them going down. I guess it kind of just shows it the way you're
yeah,
wording it.
it's
But
the going up the tower seems to be the prime focus of the story rather than them going back down. Which I'm sure there is going to be an issue with them getting back down at some point, but right now, since they're only half a kilometer up, it's not really um going too in depth about it. But this is a great segue into the uh point where whatever that guy's name is, he has a name. I'm not even gonna I have the mangas next to me, but I don't really care to look
the
it up.
cat boy.
No, not the cat. It's a cat girl, but not that guy.
Oh.
But the parliament basically votes to have Minzabel return, and they
Mm.
establish this group of three people, which is Yuva, who's stupid but really strong, Lillison, who is stupid but very good at magic, and then Eriquo, who's very stupid but a really good archer.
Yeah.
So, and I think that it's a very fun dynamic where you have three idiots
Yeah.
try who are literally only there because like they're really good at one thing, but they suck at everything else,
Mhm.
and now they're thrusted into this like quest that they have no capacity in reality. Like they
Yeah.
have the potential to come to do it, but like at the time that they're given this mission, they have zero like hope basically. So
Yeah.
it's going to have a lot of character development in the story, which I think is a good thing.
Hmm.
And it's really funny because you have a lot of butting of heads, especially between Lillison and Yuva, because she's kind of jealous of him. Um, so you have a lot of I think there's just going to be a lot of fun stuff going there.
Yeah,
um
I really enjoyed the characters.
no,
I
the
think
characters
that
are a
the
strong suit
characters
of this manga.
absolutely.
And then you brought up the cat girl. I really liked the cat people race design. I thought it was
Yeah,
really well done, especially it's a trope that's very common.
Garamana.
The what?
Garamana was the cat person.
Yes, Garamana. And I really liked the character design. They put them forth as being a very
The
stubborn
the
kinda
the race name is the Nya Billion.
the Nyabilian.
Yeah.
That's funny. But, I really liked the character design, and I thought the character was really well written. Again, the
Mhm.
side characters in this manga are very, very well done. Um, and then, adding a little bit of, Funapa back into it also, it is made as kind of a segue into a bit more of the story, but I think it was they added her in a really tasteful manner. Like,
Yeah.
well, there's nothing at the village, she might as well go do something, you know?
Yeah. Because
Um,
I was expecting them to just not use her after the
yeah, I
first
was
part of
expecting
the
her to
month,
just be forgotten and to
and
just not
having
make any appearances.
and so she starts working at this tavern, and as she's going to get food, she gets jumped,
Yes, this
and
is what I wanted to segue into.
she gets jumped by I guess, a member of the royal family, or
Alright,
someone that has dragon blood is pretty much the whole thing, is that the royal family has this dragon blood,
and they can turn
and
into dragons with it, which
they
is
can
kinda
turn into
cool.
dragons, which also means that the guard captain that they first bumped into can also turn into a dragon.
Yes, Minsabel, and I think it does show her in dragon form, like, for a
Mhm.
split second in one of the
Yeah,
panels.
and so it shows that the royal family are, like, part dragon, and that, like, at least all the nobility are dragons, and that's kinda how they determine who's, like, pure-blooded, you know? Um, and she gets jumped by this I think he was a count or something, and he wanted to drain her life to stay young. And there's a whole thing where the little cat girl pulls up and is like, "You're not taking her."
You say
And
little cat girl, but they like the character design is quite menacing.
oh yeah, no, it was really good. They stand up against that person, and that person flies away, whatever. But it shows us that, like, everyone that's competing for this, like, the seat, like, the to be the emperor, the king, or whatever, they all have their own ambitions, and I liked that type of world building where it was like, they're all dragons, you know what I mean?
Yes. And not they're not all good. This
No.
particular guy,
Yeah,
I
no.
can look up
Like,
his name here.
eradicated villages to stay young,
Yes.
and
Like,
that's crazy.
there's a lot of dark figures that operate in this world. And, sorry for my, loss of words here, I'm looking
Because
for a bit of the
'Cause
things.
you meet Minstrel, and they're very, oh, what's the word?
Honor bound.
Very s very honor bound and very selfless, and it's like, okay, well, like, they're right for the throne, you know? And then you meet, like, the opposition, and they're so comically evil where it's like, they kill their villages to stay beautiful and young and
Karach
stuff.
is his name. Or
Karach.
Karache? I don't know. Karach.
Yeah, yeah, so it's already like, I don't know, it's just crazy.
No, and they do introduce a number of noble people. There is a noble woman who is, she shows up and she's like, "Well, I'm just gonna fly to the top of the tower and save the princess," and, you snooze, you lose, and she gets attacked by, like,
A giant dragon.
primordial beasts and then is, like, thrown to the ground,
Yeah.
and then the I think he's Duke Karach, he sees it from afar because he's spying, and he's like, "Oh, so now I know that, like, I'm gonna have to, like, kinda go in, like, boots on the
Yeah.
ground." And you see just a very large spectrum of the nobles, and how
Mm,
they act, and I really like the fact that and it's kinda Game of Thronesy, but, each noble has their like you said, their own ambitions, their own mission, but also their own morality, their own moral
yeah.
compass, and making it a much more gray, not black and white situation makes a is it lays the foundation for a much more interesting story.
Yeah. Uh, I so after his sister gets away from her, they end up making her an honorary member of the parliament. I thought that was a really cool aspect to have his sister be used for a much greater purpose. Because right now she's kinda like, what do they call her? I forgot what the term that, the mage used, but she pretty much calls her, like, a low ranking person,
Yeah.
and that was very cool, but I think it's a good way to use his sister, and I feel like she's gonna become a very important B plot for her own mission outside of all the fighting. She's going
Yeah,
to be covering
they can
the,
take
like,
a
political
direction.
aspect, and I thought that was really interesting, and I think that's, like, I don't know, that's my hope for this manga is that I don't know, I wanna read more of it. Like I said, I have very decent criticisms of it,
And I have
um,
a feeling that, because
but
Opossums was very short. It was him just kinda writing something, I feel like, because he wanted to. I don't think he really felt like answering to anybody with the story, which is why I think it's very controversial. There's a lot of people who really like it and a lot of people who don't, and I
yeah.
feel like he was preparing to write this.
Mhm.
I feel like he's putting a lot like Tsutomu Nihai like the author, he's putting a lot more preparation into this manga, and that this is gonna be a much more planned plot than,
Oh,
say,
absolutely.
Opossums or, something like that. Because I've never read Blame, but the amount of just praise that Blame gets, the amount of praise that Knights of Sidonia gets, and then when you I've only read Opossums before this by Tsutomu Nihai, right? And this is some like Hajime Isayama, author of Attack on Titan, praises Tsutomu Nihai. um, as being one of the, biggest figures in his manga writing career. Even saying that one of his most prized possessions is a signed drawing by Tsutomu Nihai, right? I was left, even though I liked Opossums, I was left in a very kind of not stale, what's the word? Lukewarm state after I read Opossums. It was kind of like, really,
Mhm.
like, this is it. This is the
This
great
is this is a
Tsutomu.
man that gets praised so often.
Yeah, I hear people talk about Blame like it's, the second Bible. I
Yeah,
Tsutomu Nihai being praised by Hajime Isayama, who's probably one of the biggest manga authors of our generation with Attack
yeah.
on Titan, honestly. I mean, I might
Uh-huh.
be, blowing him up to, more than he's worth, but Attack on Titan for our generation, me and King are younger guys, he's known as being one of the big people.
Yeah.
So it's like that can't be him, and I can see Tsutomu Nihai where you don't really like him too much from like a more personal point of view, but I can see
But
here that
I've also only gone in on a very surface level too.
yes.
And I think that this manga is redeeming him. And I don't know. I think the more I talk about this manga, the more I'm realizing that I enjoyed it. And I think my initial criticisms were just, off the
See.
dome, you
See that
know,
out.
you
Hear
know,
that out, King. Hear that out. 'Cause
but
I loved this. I was so upset when I finished it. I was like, "There needs to be more."
so my
And there's
biggest
gonna be
thing,
mouse people, like Redwall style mouse people in the next couple volumes, bro. It's gonna be
my
great.
biggest thing is I think the manga and anime Delicious in Dungeon has a pretty similar concept.
And a lot of people on, my anime list recommend this if you've read Delicious in Dungeon,
Yeah.
or recommend Delicious in Dungeon if you've read this. It's
And I think
actually
Delicious in
the
Dungeon,
fan bases do overlap.
I think it does it better in the terms of the actual tower and the characters. And so I think I liked Delicious in Dungeon more than I like
No,
this.
fair enough, fair enough.
But I definitely do. I was like, while I was reading this, I was like, is this just a like uh don't copy my homework too much type instance? Because it definitely does feel like it in a lot of ways, which is why I want it to dive more politically, and I hope it does. Because Delicious in Dungeon does have a political side to it, but it's not as forefront as they're making it in this manga.
Well, and I think as the volumes get released more, we've already seen various guilds who are getting involved in going
Mhm.
after the tower, going after the princess, or just going after treasure. And we've seen, Yuva, he has this interaction with the Artificers Guild or whatever they're called, where he runs into them at a water source and they don't really jump him, but they kind of harass him because there are rumors surrounding this gem that he holds around his neck. And I wouldn't say they're necessarily villains, but they are not heroes. And, you see these guilds with people in them that are kind of gray
Yeah,
actors
they're
here.
all they're all wealth hunters. They're not doing it
They
to save the princess. They're not doing it for a
and
higher
even if
goal.
they're doing it to save the princess, they're doing it for their own nefarious means. So I think that we might see more, and I think this might be why the tavern and this fort is a prominent part of the plot because I think there might be more interaction with the political side of it. We already see this cat person we mentioned earlier. They're
Yeah.
part of the parliamentary guard, which is different than the royal guard, right?
Mhm.
They um serve the parliament, which is a more of a legal authority in the land versus the royal guard, who are specifically honor bound to the royal bloodline. So you're already seeing political butting of heads. And the parliamentary representative that shows up, he looks like a not good individual. He is
Yeah,
very sinister looking. He's like this
yeah,
weird beetle demon looking thing. You guys
yeah.
gotta pick this up so that you know
It's
what
it's
I'm
it's
saying
pretty
here.
interesting.
And I think that this has, like I said, very simple plot, but so many directions it can go. And I think this is kind of going back when I mentioned like romance stories, how you can either try to make a weird romance plot that's new and flashy and is like neat, or you can make one that's very traditional but flesh it out very well. And I think that's kind of the same on the fantasy side because you have a very simple the necromancer steals the princess, go rescue her and give her a kiss type plot, but it's y- already you see the fleshing out of that plot,
Yeah.
at least in its early forms. And I think this can go many very good directions.
So back to the whole you rescue the princess, she will be your wife. I think that's honestly going to make or break you. I want to call him
Yoda.
Yuva. I want to call him Yuta, but like Yuva, I think it makes or breaks his character because I don't feel like he should marry the princess.
I think he should get with Lillison.
Exactly.
See- no,
Uh, but
like
but
like,
I think if
she
he
tries
marries
to
the
kill him in the
princess,
first volume. She tries to kill him. That
I
that
think if he
means that
marries
that means
the
that he should marry her.
princess,
She tried to murder him.
there's going to be a weird morally gray thing where it's like his right to marry her. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of knights that are doing that, which kind of makes them morally gray, kind of scummy, where they're not doing it just to like save her and protect the kingdom. They're doing it just to marry her.
Well, even after that decree gets said, Yuva, Lillison, and what's his name, Eriquo, they're still just doing it because, I mean, Yuva kind of gets a field admittance to the royal guard. They make him swear his oath there, right? But they're all honor bound to protect the royal family, which puts their party in a very interesting position where they don't care about riches. They don't care about marrying the princess. They are sworn to protect the royal family no matter what. And I think we might get a plot point where maybe Yuva has some sort of like ha 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 with the princess, but I
Yeah,
still feel like the plot is very cut and dry. So I don't think that this manga is going to go more than 15 volumes personally. I don't think it can because once they rescue the princess, what comes after?
yeah. And I also want to mention, I'm wondering if the Parliament are just bad guys because the way that they have
Maybe.
operated, where they were like, "Hey, y'all can't continue your expedition to do that. Like, we're taking you away from the problem just because the captain is what's it called?"
It seems sinister. It seems like the parliament's like, no, maybe it's good that the royal family dies out. And then even afterwards, when they have loot from the dungeon, hey, sorry,
They take it.
parliament says that it's illegal for you to take things from the tower into the real world. You have to sell it to us at a rate that we establish.
It's very weird,
And when you
but
think about like all the medicinal herbs and like things they get that are extremely valuable on the outside world, it's kind of like, in a sense, I can see where Parliament's coming from. Like these mushrooms that they find that are like a miracle medicine, where it's kind of like, yeah, if you flood the market, you'll crash the economy, kind of a thing. Like, I get that. So you can see where they're coming from, but the way that it's being done also seems like a very
yeah.
sinister kind
They
of.
find mushrooms like it's just a common thing, and on the outside, it's worth hundreds and hundreds of gold. Like,
Yeah. So it's
it's
kind of like,
definitely
is the parliament trying to control the economy and ensure that it doesn't crash? Or
weird.
are
Mhm.
they trying to manipulate the economy
Yeah,
to, kind of lace their own pockets? You know,
it's pretty interesting. I like that aspect.
there's so many, I've said it a million times and I'll say it again, so many facets that are yet to be explored.
Mhm.
But let's talk about the characters for a minute. We haven't really talked about the characters, and we just dropped a bombshell saying that Yuva should get with Lillison. We're already scheming
Oh,
our,
yeah,
like,
oh, yeah,
Team
oh,
Edward type stuff
yeah.
here. So, let's talk a little bit about them. So, we talked about Yuva. He's the main character. He's a country bumpkin, farm boy, super strong, and that's what gets him his recognition by the royal guard. And that's why he's left behind. That's why he
And
was tasked with attacking this
I
slime.
feel
That's
like
why,
he's written in a way that's, like, very main character energy, but
yeah.
not, like, over the top. He's just a good guy. Like, that's and a lot I'm sure a lot of people don't like that, where it's just like, "Oh, he's just a dude."
There
I kinda like it where it makes him stand out more because he's just a dude.
being a Mary Sue is actually written as a character trait for all three of the main characters
Mhm.
versus the main characters being Mary Sue's. If that it sounds kind of
Yeah. He
counterproductive, but
doesn't
they're
he
written.
doesn't he doesn't flex it either. Like, it's just like, "Oh, yeah, like, oh, well." Like,
Yeah,
it's
they're dumb.
versus
In
if you
being
had
a
the
Mary Sue,
same.
they have character flaws versus a typical one wouldn't have character flaws.
Mhm.
It might be a better way to put it.
And I think that they're showing us the character's actions that make you define who they are and their personality more than the character's, like, backstory and all that, and I think it's very well done, and I liked that aspect of this manga.
I'm doing the Pope thing where he's holding up the
Oh,
bread,
yeah.
but instead it's volume 2 of Tower Dungeon.
Volume 2 is
'Cau
very good.
volume 2 was great. Honestly, the covers are also very good,
Oh,
and the
yeah.
first 2 have the main characters on them, and then, volume three's cover does not have Eriquo on it, which is kind of a letdown, but hey.
Oh, that's stupid. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
they didn't give Eriquo a, specific thing, but Eriquo is a bit different, so
Is there volume 3 out in.
not out. You can pre-order it
Ah.
on Amazon, Barnes& and Nobles, and anywhere else you buy books.
I see. Use code no. One
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, use code themangaman25 to get your 10% off. I wish. I
I
wish we
wish.
had
I wish we
sponsors.
I wish we could buy manga at 10% off.
Yeah, I wish we could give an affiliate link to y'all. That would be really cool. But we don't because we are just small peons. But anyways, Yuva's great. Mary Sue type character, but he's Mary Sue in the sense he has immense power, but not Mary Sue in the sense he actually contains character flaw.
Mm.
Moving on to Lillison, who's the second most kind of covered character in
She's
our trio.
so God, what's her name? Kind of power coded from Chainsaw Man in a way
Kind of power
where
coded.
she's tsundere, but not over the top mean, just kind of like, I
She's
don't know,
not over the
very.
top mean, yet she tries to murder the main character because she's jealous of him. You forgot about that part, King.
Listen, he kind of deserved.
Oh, yeah. Simping over the main characters.
But
Typical.
I don't know. I think they just did a really good job of just showing the characters. I think she's really well done. I think Eliquo is good. Uh,
Eriquo. He's a good
Eriquo,
character.
they just
He's
haven't shown much of him yet, so I'm just kind of waiting to.
yeah. So each of the three main characters does have a some sort of immense power that is they do have flaws, however, that counteract their um immense power. So like Lillison, just like Yuva, was born with immense power. However, her whole life she's been kind of praised and recognized for this power. So she's very stubborn and she's
Oh,
very jealous because when Yuva gets involved, she tries to kill him because she wants to maintain her poster child facade. So she has this jealousy that really does her in, whereas Yuva is just really, really stupid, and that does him in. Whereas Eriquo, like Lillison being a prodigy fire mage or Yuva being this unearthly strongman, Eriquo is a extremely skilled archer, and he is known as like being the best archer in the kingdom. But he is put into a point of command because he's the senior member of the guard, so he's put in command, but his character flaw is almost like imposter syndrome or like he's very insecure. He's a very insecure character, and that's his character flaw. So you get a really dumb person, a very jealous person, and then a very insecure person. Everybody's relying on the insecure person to lead them. The person who's jealous is surrounded by people who are equally as powerful as she is, and then the stupid person is being put into a environment that you need to be extremely intelligent to maneuver. So that
yeah.
all three of them have character flaws that are very, very directly um, a problem to uh, the party and the environment they operate in. So it's done very well, where they're kind of nerfed to where they might be able to kill this monster lickety split easy, no problem, but their character flaws prevent them from doing that. And I'm just saying the interaction between Yuva and Lilith and A means they should get together. They should,
Oh yeah.
they should hook up. That's what I'm saying. But
Mm.
there's a lot of butting of heads where they just don't like each other. Yuva kind of is trying to like Lillison and be a team player, and Lillison just doesn't want to have any of it because she's jealous. And then
But
meanwhile,
then she kind of grows into it even by the end of the second volume, where they're
and
just
by
kind of
the
like,
yes, by the end of the second volume, the characters do start interacting with each other more. Like, what is it? You probably know one of these interactions. I don't want to steal your thunder here.
uh, I, ah, Anyways, completely caught off guard. Expected you to keep yapping, but that's fine. I guess when they're laying on the bed and she like gets closer and there's the creature. There's the creature at the top of the thing.
PG King.
No. There's the creature at the top of the thing. I didn't say anything crazy.
Yeah, after I said we're family friendly, he was about to drop the F-bomb, guys. Can you believe this?
I was gonna say freaky creature. There's a freaky creature up there.
Yeah, they are freaky. They're spooky looking.
And
I wanted them to kill them.
it was the very kind golem people.
Yeah, the very kind Smeagol lady.
Yeah. But anyways, as the episode is kind of getting to the close, do we want to do our overall rating?
Dude, you only halfway talked about the situation. You got to complete with what you were saying first.
I mean, we just got to see all of them go and chase after the creepy golem people.
Yes, but you're saying that she gets closer and she's like, "Hey, look up," and she gives him like a heads up.
It was
I thought
pretty
you were
good.
gonna go into the point where like Yuva, what is he? He's saying something, and then she like starts crying and gives him a hug, and it's like, wow,
Oh,
like
that was pretty good.
you actually understand me, like
Yeah, that was pretty good.
because there's something that
That's a way more
yeah, where
justifiable moment
like right
versus I'm gonna
here,
get close to you because I'm scared of the thing on the wall.
like what is it? She's talking about how like she should have been able to help and how she's all upset that she's useless, and she was like all upset that she was wondering why they'd ever come back, like if she was ever going to come back. And then Yuvas like kind of is involved, and he's like, oh well, like I don't know what I should do. Even if I stayed, I don't think I could manage much on my own. I can't think of anything other than just going home. It's very frustrating where he's basically toying with this fact where like he wants to go home, and everyone is putting all this on his shoulders because of how good he is and all this stuff, and he tells her about how he agrees with that. He also feels useless, and it's very frustrating. And then
Mm.
she rolls up and gives him like a hug, and they think that she's going to try to kill him again. And then she's like, but you did all you could, and if it weren't for you, I would have died in that tower. Thank you. So she has this, and this is why, hey, they should hook up, because they have this shared conflict of that, you know, yes, like her and Yuva are these Mary Sue type characters, and they have a lot put on their plate, but they also have a lot of flaws, and they both just want to run. But like, what use would they be back home anyways? Where it's frustrating between the two of them because this is where they need to be, but this is the one place where they don't want to be. And Yuva understanding that at the end of volume 1, even though it doesn't completely take down the conflict between them, it shows that to each character that they are similar and they have that same struggle. And that adds camaraderie, right? So
Hmm.
you do see a character building between Eriko, between Lillison, between Yuva over this situation. So I am very excited to see what happens next, because what happens at the end of volume 2, which we didn't talk about, was in the middle of the tower dungeon. They find a undead soldier who's tied to a column,
Yeah.
and that is bait by one of these other nefarious guilds, who then attacks the royal guards. Yuva
Yeah.
is then
And
thrown off of.
they're all deserters from.
They're deserters. They're people from the tower guard previously who are coming back to either marry the princess or get rich.
Mhm.
And they attack the royal guards. They shoot
Yuva falls
Eriquo and Lillison,
really far.
and Yuva again falls very, very far. And then the final panel of volume 2 ends with, what do they say? They say, "Oh, um, like one of my guys saw the captain give something to you, Eriquo, spill it, or like we're going to do unspeakable things to Lillison, and these people are horrific deserters from the Royal Guard." Or I guess rather they were let go by the Royal Guard, so they just went back to the tower. And we are left with two of our three party members wounded, Yuva being shot and falling into a pit once again, and we have no clue what is to happen next.
I didn't read any further than that.
Well, because there's only 6 chapters right now, so you couldn't have read further. So, or are you saying you didn't get to chapter 6?
I'm saying I read further than chapter 6. I thought you said it was 7 chapters.
No, I said it was 6 chapters. There's more chapters out.
Go.
There's more
Oh, if
chapters
I
out.
read chapter 7, it was awesome.
It was awesome. So
It's
that gives me,
awesome.
well, that gives me hope.
And I was so confused because I wanted to talk about this where I was like, chapter 7 just kind of ends. And I was like, okay, like,
Yeah, because you went further than volume 2. So yeah, it ended abruptly and on a cliffhanger, probably because there's more chapters after it, King.
because I
Thank you
was
for
like,
not spoiling. But
chapter 6, I was like, oh, this like ends well. And I was like, oh, whoa, this is crazy. And then it was like, okay, where's this going to go? Volume 3, I guess, is just going to start. Like,
yeah, guys, King started the next arc in the story and then was wondering
it
why
was
it
awesome.
seemingly ended in the middle of an arc because he was in the middle of an arc. How
The
interesting.
next chapter was only like 10, 15 pages too. Because he's kind of weird with how his chapters are structured.
Yeah, yeah, some of
Because
them are
volume
short,
one is
some
like
of them are
chapter
long.
one is like 180 pages. Then chapter two is like it's very interesting.
Yeah, he's very sporadic in the length of his chapters, which
I-
maybe he's just trying to go from point A to point B and he doesn't care how long or short the chapter is. He's just trying to get that chunk done, which
yeah.
there's some merit there. But volume
Anyways,
2 ends with these deserters capturing Lillison and Eriquo. They knock Yuva over. They think he's a normal man, so he's actually still alive, not dead. And now we have yet to see what the future holds, except King has seen a little bit into what the future holds, apparently. But
anyways, review time.
review time. Let's talk about our 3 little review criteria that I have in this Google Doc that we wrote
Characters,
years and years ago.
story, and art.
Characters, story, and art. You go first.
Characters 9.
I agree. I agree 9.
I really liked them. I really liked them. I liked their character design. I liked their attitudes. I liked how they all interacted. I thought the characters were awesome. And I really enjoyed like just being like, oh, well, we have Calix who has the glasses and he's only really there for like a frame or two, but he has so much aura to him where you're like,
Oh,
whoa.
yeah, no, before the story got on, I was like, "This guy's, like, awesome. He's, like, my favorite character."
I wonder why.
Yeah, he looks like me, so
But so like I don't know, they did so well with the characters, and I really enjoyed that. What would you said 9 for
I'd say
characters?
9 as well for the exact same reasons. I mean, every character, like I said, even when they're written with immense power, they're given realistic character flaws. Even the side characters are written in such a way where they're memorable, even if you don't remember their names. They're all written very well, and I have very little issue with the characters. The villains seem neat, the side characters are fun, the main characters are fun too. It all plays together super well, and I really enjoyed that.
And then we have story.
The story, hmm,
7.58 is what I would
7.5 or 8.
give it.
I'll put
I enjoyed it. I I want to see where it goes.
I'm gonna give it a 7, and I'm gonna give you an 8, and that will make the average a bit more accurate, I think, to what
7.5.
me and you. Yeah, and I think that'll be a bit more accurate into what me and you think, because I liked the story. I didn't think it was anything special yet, but I do think it can very quickly surpass a 7,
And then
going into
art,
the next 9,
9,
9.
which I think this rates at the highest manga we've rated.
I think so too, and, let's see. So if I average mine up 9 plus 7 plus 9, and
It's
then
too
I
much 8%,
divide that by
right?
3, that gives me an 8.3 personally. And then
Uh,
you will probably be something a bit higher because you did 9 plus 8 plus 9, and then
Wait,
dividing that by 3 gives you an 8.6, right? A little bit higher. So now
so I think we just turned it into 8.5, we call it a day.
if we add that together and then divide it by 2, we get 8.48, which is 8.5.
Yes!
And I
I
think
think
that that's a pretty accurate rating. My anime list has this rated at
it was a
8.06, so a bit higher than I'm using my anime list as the bar here, okay? A bit
mm,
higher than the bar, than the standard here. Um, Honestly, I can understand why it's a solid 8 for most people and 8.5 for us, and I can see it going maintaining the 8 or going even higher, um, with the story. People were saying this is the best fantasy manga that you have not read, and I can agree with them. I think it was very well written. And I
yeah.
do think, King, your qualms with it definitely were valid. But talking about it, I've really thought about how much better this is than I initially thought, personally.
Yeah, that's kinda where I was at too.
And I want
Um,
to see where this one goes. And until Volume 4 gets released, I don't think we should do another episode on it, so that it'll be
no.
like a surprise
Yeah,
comeback. Um,
it'll be
Even
good.
though we
I'm
we
excited.
could.
I really do wanna keep up with it as 2 volumes are released. I think
Yeah,
it is definitely something that I've really enjoyed.
and I mean, sure, you can read it chapter by chapter if you want, King, but I think that we should hold off until the
I'm gonna wait.
actual volumes get released, because it would be a fun little way to, an indicator to revisit it compared to some of the older manga that we read, where it's like, "Oh, well, when should we revisit it?" This one we'll know because 'cause it'll get released, alright? But I recommend, if you are into fantasy stuff, if you like Satomu Nihai, or if you like Berserk or Delicious in Dungeon or any sort of darker fantasy type stuff, um, even though Delicious in Dungeon is a bit more lighthearted, this is
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
definitely. It's not? Okay.
No, no.
It looks
It
like.
it's it seems like it, and that it's just not. It's just not. Like,
Okay.
I mean, it's about as dark as this. Probably
Okay,
dark.
well, maybe we should check it out. Maybe we
Yeah.
should do a segment on that if you want, but
Mm.
I really recommend y'all picking this one up. Aposms, I couldn't really necessarily recommend it, but this one, I think that there's something in this, for everyone.
Oh,
Although it may
absolutely.
not be your speed. If you're not a Tsutomu Nihai fan, you might not like his style. But overall, I think this is a great recommendation for y'all. This is a awesome, awesome one.
Anyways, I guess we'll see you next time.
We'll wrap it up there. Yeah. So see you later. Take it easy, and we'll see you in the next one.